Fire Emblem Episode 7, The Blazing Blade, was the most disappointing thing since my son. And even though my son eventually got himself killed on a bunch of ambush reinforcements, the unfortunate reality of FE7 is that it will always be around. Forever. It will never go away. It can never be undone. Now you're probably asking yourself, how? I mean, it can't be that bad. It's got classic Fire Emblem gameplay, drama, an intriguing story, and popular characters like Hector and Lyn. And it doesn't have an avatar character that takes over the story. You can even play it without an avatar. But the truth is that it's a confusing, poorly translated mess that contradicts both itself and the game it's a prequel to. When you were playing FE7 for the first couple of times, there were probably a few moments when one of the characters says or does something weird, and you went, huh? What? Why? Oh well, maybe they'll explain it later. But then they don't, and you kind of forget about it. In fact, this kind of vagueness likely meant you didn't remember things properly, so your memory of what happens in the plot is almost certainly not correct. This problem is so endemic that it begs the question of whether or not the writers were intentionally pulling the wool over your eyes, or if they were just being completely incompetent. So that's why I'm here, to put all the pieces together, to expose this game's story for the sham that it is. Although this game also has a lot of mechanical and gameplay problems, this video is going to be almost entirely dedicated to the story, as I can only handle analyzing so much shit at once. And by story, I mean the core plot, so don't expect long, in-depth character analyses. I might talk about ideas, themes, and scene composition now and then, plus there will be a conclusion. But for the most part, I'll be focusing on what's happening moment to moment, and how the events are connected. That's because the only part of this game that has any depth worth seriously looking at is the convolutedness of the plot. Analyzing anything else would just be fucking boring. And don't worry, I'm not gonna be making stupid fucking complaints like, how stupid is Sane for hitting on women all the time, or Lyn should have chosen to grovel at Irrelevance to get help. Only idiots would say shit like that, or want to listen to someone saying it. This ain't no everything wrong with Fire Emblem 7. And don't fucking start with the but other games have problems too kind of crap. They don't excuse nothing, and FE7's shit stinks a lot more. In fact, what you're doing there is called a false equivalent part 1, Lyn Mode. I know a lot of you are thinking, can't we just skip Lyn Mode? But because this game forces you to slog through it on your first playthrough, I'm gonna force you to listen to me ranting about it. Lyn's character and her mode were obviously shoehorned into an already existing story, because this was the first Fire Emblem to be released outside of Japan. Those fucking Japanese could skip the damn thing too if they had a copy of FE6, which just shows how irrelevant it is. Think about how little the developers must have cared about Lyn Mode to allow this. Yeah, sure, those 10 chapters don't really matter to your experience of the game, just skip them. Can you imagine a movie director saying that about the first 10 minutes of their film? So before we even get started, it's already clear. Lyn's story is considered irrelevant by the developers, which means wasting time criticizing how boring and simple it is would be like taking low-hanging fruit from a baby. But fuck fruits, I only eat fricadelles, so I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, yeah, Lyn Mode is basically a simple tutorial meant to serve as an introduction. This was the first Fire Emblem game for a lot of people. I sucked at this game when I first started, and I wasn't the only one. But the pacing of it, both when it comes to gameplay and story, is excruciatingly slow. The basic outline is that Lyn is the heir to the throne of Caelin, a small territory in distant Lycia, and she must travel from her birthplace in Saka to meet her grandfather, Lord Hausen. Complications occur when it turns out that Lundgren, her great-uncle, is trying to kill her so he can take over Caelin instead. We find out all of this in Chapter 1. The next 4 chapters do nothing to advance the plot at all, besides revealing that Lundgren is poisoning Hausen, which could have easily been part of Chapter 1, as it's only like 3 lines. These maps only serve to introduce some recruitable characters that could have easily been incorporated into some actual narrative. All we're doing is fighting random bandits in our way, and we don't even encounter any more of Lundgren's lackeys till Chapter 6. Think about this, you're fighting bandits on tiny maps for 6 fucking chapters. No other Fire Emblem game besides Gaiden is this bad. And when the plot does finally start rolling again, it already makes no fucking sense. Lundgren sends soldiers to kill Lyn, which shouldn't be that complicated, right? You get something sharp, sneak up behind her, and then stab her. Your wife will never see it coming. I mean Lyn. So how do they end up going about it? They set Castle Arafin on fire and kidnap the Marquess. Then they try to kill her. Unfortunately, Wrath, the captain of the castle guard, was put on alert by the ruckus, and is able to save Lyn by shooting her would-be assassin in the back. Now, I'm not a professional murderer, but wouldn't it have made way more sense to try to kill Lyn before you attack the castle? Wait, why are you even attacking the castle? She hasn't even been to see the Marquess yet. Kent just got back from requesting an audience. Why would Lundgren want to piss off the Marquess of Arafin, the second biggest territory in all of Lycia? Caelin is such a small territory that it doesn't even exist on a map in FE6, so risking a retaliation from a much bigger neighbor seems really stupid to me. Uh-oh. The Marquess is a huge racist. But wait, did Lundgren know that the Marquess hates Takans, so he wouldn't side with her? If that's the case, why did he attack the Marquess at all, since he probably wouldn't have helped her anyway? And what was Lundgren's explanation going to be, if his soldiers had successfully killed Lyn in the town? Then the Marquess wouldn't have found out about Lyn's heritage, and presumably would have just been really angry at Caelin for trying to burn his castle down. Moving on. In the meantime, Lundgren has been getting really pissed off at how Hausen just won't die. We're told later that Hausen has been bedridden for 3 months. Gee, if you're going to just straight up tell the guy you're killing him, why don't you just stab him? And how the hell is an old ass man like Hausen still alive after 3 months of poison? Does poison in the story work the same as it does in gameplay? In the next chapter we're introduced to Ninian and Nils, who we later find out are crucial components in Nurgle's plans. Nurgle's the main antagonist of this game, by the way, but more on him later. A lot more. Anyway, the kids are trying to escape the Black Fang, which is some kind of assassin outfit. A woman called Ursula is in charge of this operation, yet she mysteriously has business to attend to elsewhere. But what other business could be more important than catching Ninian and Nils? Nurgle can't do anything without him. Ignoring that though, Ursula invokes the Black Fang's mantra about how the penalty for failure is death, which causes Bayard to kill himself via poison when he gets captured at the end of the chapter. So how come Ursula gets off the hook then? Wasn't she in charge? Wait a second, poison that can instantly kill? Gee, I bet Lundgren sure wishes he had some of that. Lyn continues on to Caelin, but Lundgren spreads fake news about how she's really an imposter, so people should stop her. And that's when Lyn realizes she has no proof that she's actually Hausen's granddaughter. Oops. But don't worry, it gets resolved in the very next scene, thanks to Eliwood. Then Linus' legion continues on to the castle, they take down Lundgren, and it's all sunshine and roses. So that was Lyn Mode. Like I said before, I could make fun of it and pick it apart more than this, but really why bother? It's just the appetizer. The main course is much more important, and it's going to be much better with smarter villains, thoughtful writing, and no more stupid bandit chap. Oh.